Hey everyone, Mr. Hutch again. We are now on Chapter 5, titled Flames of Resistance, as we continue to read the book, The Boys Who Challenged Hitler. So, grab your books and let's follow along. Flames of Resistance. Denmark seemed a place right out of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale in the first months of 1942. Another date to be aware of, especially compared to so many other places in the world where bloody conflict was raging. Every morning in Copenhagen, Danish King Christian X took a horseback ride through the streets, saluted by both the Danish citizens and the German soldiers he passed. The Danish Minister of Foreign Affairs, Niels Svenningsten, took his morning rides with the German High Commander Werner Best. While citizens and soldiers were being shot in Norway, Danish business leaders lunched with German officers, negotiating deals over pastry. So, there's just a sickening behavior to our group here that is against all this. Negotiating deals over pastry. Unemployed Danish workers were sent to Germany and given the opportunity to work for the Nazis, while uniformed German soldiers strolled through Denmark's city streets, arm in arm with Danish women. In the early months, they're stealing their women. What the heck? Jeez. I lost my spot. In the early months of 1942, it was clear that many Danish officials were expecting a Nazi victory in which Denmark would be a business partner. Winston Churchill referred to Denmark on the radio as Hitler's tame canary. Here's Knud Petersen speaking. After the Fuchs strike, we turned our attention to German vehicles. To our arsenal of blue paint, hammers, and bicycles, we added gasoline and matches. Arson became our game. Arson means burning things. We took to carrying a small quantity of petrol with us when we went out, stuffing the canister in a school bag. As always, we specialized in quick strikes, in and out. One day, our bicycle reconnaissance, good vocabulary word if you're not sure what it means. One day during our bicycle reconnaissance, we found 3 large German transport trucks unguarded in a field. Ooh. We crept up to each and raised our eyes above the windows to make sure no one was hiding or sleeping inside. All were empty. Quickly, one of us slashed the seats, pulled the stuffing out, and doused it with gasoline. Another painted our iconic blue swastika with lightning bolts on each truck. On a signal, a third tossed a lit match into each cabin, and we tore out of there as fast as we could. Flames were instant. Petrol made all the difference. There's a picture of Werner Best, the German High Commander in Denmark, with Erik Scavenius, the Danish Prime Minister. Another afternoon, we came upon an unguarded German tractor near the airfield in Lindholm, a suburb of Aalborg. Again, we slashed the seats, painted the symbol, and prepared the stuffing, but suddenly realized no one had remembered the petrol. We ordered Borgen, the youngest of us, to ride back to the monastery to retrieve it. He objected that we should draw straws. We told him to get going. He ignored us and instead opened up the gas tank and threw a lit match into it, igniting the vehicle. Creative. There's a picture of a Danish police photo of a German truck vandalized by the Churchill Club. That was classic Borgen. He looked the innocent type, the kind of innocent who is most dangerous, with blonde curls, twinkling blue eyes, and a sweet smile. He seemed angelic. Good description to record down for that character if you don't have it. But he loved action. He was fearless and smart and very quick on his feet. He was hot-tempered and mouthy as well. Sounds like some other people I know, which sometimes got us in trouble. Not saying any names. He was the youngest of us all, still only 14, but I liked him. We shared an irreverent, good vocabulary word, irreverent sense of humor. He was a lot like little Knud had been back in Odense. Both were fearless and both were small. Borgen and I grew close. He lived about 15 miles to the west of us in a small town named Nibe, but went to school in Aalborg. Jens knew his older brother, and that's how he found us. He was so hungry to join us that he often rode his bicycle 15 miles through snowy streets back and forth between Nibe and Aalborg to be with us. When the operation called for 2, Borgen and I often worked together. We developed a feel for each other, often one that didn't call for words. One would distract and the other would strike. For example, one time, Eigil, Jens, Borgen, and I came upon several German roadsters lined up behind a fence downtown. We could plainly see a pistol resting on the front seat of the nearest car. It set us drooling. We had to have it. The Germans had posted a single-armed soldier by the fence, clearly bored. He was absent-mindedly watching a few kids play football in the adjacent street. Borgen stood still and observed the game intently. When the ball rolled loose in our direction, he sprinted after it and kicked it over the fence. The ball came to rest beneath one of the German vehicles. I ran up and asked the guard to please be allowed to fetch it. The soldier stood aside and let me open the gate. Inside, I picked up the ball and, as Borgen occupied the guard with a question, I ran to the car and snatched the gun, stuffing it into my waistband. Then I trotted back out into the street and kicked the ball back to the boys and walked away. We got better and better at disabling the German vehicles we found throughout Aalborg, especially near the airport. We learned how to pry off a radiator screen in a flash and either steal or smash the exposed parts. Always we left our signature in bright blue paint. The vehicles we wanted to destroy were lined up right outside the room of Badolfi Square. We could see them through the curtain at every Churchill Club meeting. They were an eyesore, an affront, good vocabulary word, an insult. While winter swirled around the monastery's ancient walls, we gathered in Jens's room, debating various schemes for taking them out, even if it meant killing the guard. More and more, weapons became our obsession. It was all we could talk about. Now that we had a pistol and a collection of iron rods we had discovered in the monastery attic, were we really going to use them? One afternoon, through a fog of pipe smoke, we considered a plan for a new strike. The goal would be to decommission the cars outside my window, to make them useless. Two of us would work on the cars, removing the radiator screens, pulling and smashing engine parts, while others distracted the guards with conversation. Officer, sir, do you have a light? You don't understand Danish? I'm so sorry, sir. What is the word for matches in German? There's a picture of all the German vehicles around Badolfi Square from what you can see from Knude's window. If the guard detected the operation, a fourth club member concealed beneath one of the cars would slip up behind him and smash him in the head with an iron rod. This is getting pretty crazy now. Or someone suggested maybe a blow to the neck would be better. Whatever, we would kill him. Once he was dead, we'd drag him under one of the cars. If it was agreed. We drew straws to see who would smash the guard. The winner, or loser, sat down and turned the rod over and over in his hands, trying to picture himself using it. But we didn't do it. Two members who were not present during the planning session objected when they heard about it. Hit a man from behind? That's not us. That violates our code. It is cowardly, even if it targets a German. Back when we had started the club, we all vowed that we could and would kill. But when the time came, we were woefully unprepared. Good vocabulary word, woefully. We were middle-class kids, sons of professionals, boys who had never shot a gun or wielded a club or slit a throat. We had no military training. We were too young to enlist in the army, and our army barely existed now anyway. We had no experience with the feelings involved in taking a life. A typical military inductee went through basic training or boot camp, where one's personality was stripped to the core, desensitized, good vocab word there, to accept the horror of war as part of the job, and rebuilt as a warrior. For us, young patriots having to invent and train ourselves as we went along, it would take more time and preparation to be ready to kill. All right, so think about their moral values and stuff, what they're struggling with right now with that. So the Badolfi Car Mission was postponed, but not scrapped. We would just have to work up to it. Our aborted mission was bitterly disappointing, though, especially when Jens received a coded letter from our cousin Hans-Jorgen in Odense. So the story didn't move on without us now coming back to Odense there and his favorite cousin there. So to be safe, Jens and Hans-Jorgen had developed a code for trading war bulletins. Marie Antoinette had used the same code pattern, which Jens and Hans-Jorgen had modernized so it could be deciphered with the words, "Denmark expects every man to do his duty." Hans-Jorgen wrote that the RAF club had just destroyed 15 German cars in Odense, exactly what we had failed to do at Badolfi Square. Details were sketchy, but it was clear Hans-Jorgen had been the leader. The target was a converted riding stable filled with German automobiles and other war materials. They struck on the evening of an all-day Boy Scout assembly. Hans-Jorgen, a Boy Scout, had spent the day dressed in his full scouting uniform, eagerly taking part in troop activities so everyone would see him and remember that they saw him there. Just after dark, Hans-Jorgen slipped out of the assembly hall and rode his bike to the stable. The guard usually posted outside the door and had been removed by an RAF club sympathizer, a girl who had flirted him away from his post. Hans-Jorgen tiptoed inside, using some sort of homemade bomb, ignited a quantity of straw. He then anonymously telephoned the fire department to report a fire on the opposite side of Odense. Then, still in his uniform, he beat it back to the scouting forum and to rejoin his mates. The fire brigade swallowed the bait and clanged off to the wrong end of town. All those lovely roadsters, reported Hans-Jorgen in his message to Jens, had over an hour to burn into charred steel sculptures. It was a bold strike. Hans-Jorgen proudly claimed that the RAF club had pulled ahead of the Churchill Club. We had no argument to offer. All we could do was try to match it. And then they show a picture of the German vehicles destroyed by the RAF club action in Odense. And then a picture of the passageway in the Holy Ghost Monastery where Knud lives. All right, so that's the end of the chapter. So now we have this neat twist in the story where we almost have a competition between the RAF club back in Odense and the Churchill Club here in where our setting is now. So pretty neat to see how this little competition plays out. All right, that's it for today. I will see you for chapter